Hey, Ben. Where you at? Ben, where are you? All right, I'm coming in to find you.
Ben? Where are you? Are you still out here?
Caroline, I don't see you. Where are you?
Come on, Ben. I thought you needed my help. I have so many things to do right now.
I'm not playing a game. What's going on?
Oh, I love the color of Serviceberry. Wow. But where's Ben?
Y'all ain't from around here, are you?
We're from Bates Nursery and Garden Center.
Oh. Y'all want to look at some trees?
Sure.
Absolutely.
So I see y'all fell through the tree lot again. You made it to the place where trees go to grow up. Most people never make it out. But if you can answer me this, name me 3 trees and you may return.
Absolutely. I'll do it. That's a maple. That's a hickory. And that's a oak. Can I go now?
You're free to go.
Come to the Bates Nursery tree lot. We'll help you out. See you, Caroline. I'm out of here. Adios, Cataloo. See you next fall.
I guess you're stuck with me now to learn trees.
Live from the Green Room Studios, from the spacious property of Bates Nursery and Garden Center, 3810 Whites Creek Pike, it's the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates.
Oh, hey, we have to have a disclaimer. We need to acknowledge that no actual saplings were harmed during the filming of that movie.
Absolutely not.
So, oh my goodness gracious. What a way to start Saturday morning. Bates Little Shop of Horrors.
Stay tuned,
Outstanding. Alrighty, folks, it's Saturday morning. We're coming to you alive here from the Green Room Studios at Bates Nursery and Garden Center. We're safely on the perimeter, what would you call it, the event horizon of the tree.
Did you hear my phone was in my pocket? Apparently the 911 thing had that was that was the alarm going off. I'm about to call.
Oh no, David!
So that could only happen where.
Did you get really scared when?
I saw the message that said "Stay tuned."
Stay tuned. Yes.
So,
oh my goodness! Hey,
I guess I was taking it literally.
It's the At-Home Show. Hey,
yeah, and
it's going to be a beautiful day too.
It's going to be a beautiful day. We'll go ahead and get the weather out of the way. It's going to be beautiful in a sort of a cloudy kind of way. It's not starting off terribly cloudy, but it will. Ultimately result in that. Mm-hmm. High of 73 degrees today, and increasing clouds throughout the day. And as we get into the evening hours, rain will likely be the result, as well as the early morning hours tomorrow. Hopefully that will be out here by, mid-morning.
Yeah,
and then it will be cloudy again on Halloween. And the rain will be out here and completely in time for trick-or-treaters to get underway and get all that going on.
Bates Nursery giving out the full-size Snicker bars again this year?
I don't. Only if you have brought them, Josh.
Oh, really? Okay.
We were. I don't think that was in the plan. So if you need to check on that,
Chunkies.
Josh,
Chunkies. You remember
Josh
Chunkies?
If you can find Josh, he will have those for you. Tuesday, 70 degrees, mostly cloudy, but really pleasant temperatures as we go through the week. More of the same, 71, 74, 75, 73. So it's a great week coming up, a chance of showers as we get into the beginning of next week. We will take a look quickly here at the radar, and you see that rain is currently situated over Arkansas. It appears to be going to the north-northwest, so at some point that's going to get caught up in the jet stream, and it will begin to track our general direction. The question is will it track directly over? Will it track to the south somewhat? And that will affect how much precipitation we ultimately get.
What am I thinking about Monty Python when it's going to track in our general direction?
Well, it could.
Is it going to go marching around the square?
So, be that as it may, right now it looks to be going the north-northwesterly direction. And so we'll see what we get. It's probably somewhere between a half to an inch of rainfall.
Hopefully.
And
that would be good.
Currently it is not 76 degrees. That is not correct.
No.
It is 46 degrees here in the Music City. That was just a little bit
warm.
A little bit too warm. I think that was a yesterday temperature that was on there. So we welcome in everyone. We're glad to have you here today, and welcome in our other movie-making participants here. Where they really pulled out all the stops. Caroline Gant, Austin Lowen, and of course the man behind the camera and the guy with the
with his own camera,
with his own skill set that of editing and
make
otherwise.
Movies. You can do it too.
Tyler Blankenship. So we're really grateful to have all three of you, and of course you, Josh Cary.
You, David Bates.
Me, David Bates.
He, David Bates.
All along here today to talk about what you want to talk about. Whatever the questions you have, and I'm pretty sure we've got several lined up. But before we jump into that, we'll say hello to everyone, give you a chance to kind of talk about here and get ready to discuss whatever we're going to discuss.
All right.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
So give us a little insight on the making of the Bates Shop of Horrors 3 little film there you guys put together.
Well, we did it at my house, actually, in the woods where trees go to grow up.
That's right.
And
best line ever.
I don't know where that came from. All of it was just out of our own heads. We just kind of talked about it. We did it in like an hour and a half, and just got a bunch of raw footage. And then Tyler made magic. And
Yes,
put
he
it all
did.
together, cut it up. And we came out with what we came out with. Whether it was good or not, we enjoyed it. So
Now, there
I
actually
hope y'all
was
did.
the opening part was done at the nursery. That was Caroline was
Yes,
on
that was
the tree lot,
house,
yeah.
and then they did go to the tree lot. And so, if you're on the tree lot today, make sure you look
Please.
out for that
Portal.
The Event
portal, yeah.
Horizon,
That
yes.
hole in
that
the tree lot.
shimmering.
because
as it
it's a
were.
long walk back from Austin's
It is.
backyard.
Did you notice the brooding that he brought to the role that he played?
Oh,
God,
yes.
I was reminded of a young Clint Eastwood.
Oh, Lord.
The menace
Yeah.
that was there.
It was all the chainsaws. Once the chainsaw's in your hand, then you fall into character.
And of course, in any good horror film, someone has to fall down.
Yeah.
Well,
It's like a rule.
Caroline got pushed out of the way.
Oh.
That was
Yeah.
fantastic.
Ben did push me
I
out.
also watched the video of Caroline walking through the tree. You were like,
every
yeah.
limb was smacking her in the face.
that was hilarious.
There was lots of limb smacking. Yeah, but we had fun, and I love it.
I showed my oldest daughter last night. She's 6, and she was like giddy. She thought it was hilarious. I don't know, a good way or a bad way, but she thought it was so funny.
So we're still cool. If the kids like it, then
That's
yeah.
right.
We
I'm
know.
relieved.
So welcome into a Halloween weekend here.
See.
And we really appreciate everyone tuning in today. And because what we really talk about, more than just whatever the holiday might happen to be, is gardening. And that's what we specialize in. You'll see around the studio here, we've got a great selection of conifers, deciduous plants. We've got a nice color over at the desk in front of Austin and Caroline, and we will be discussing those things. And
I want to talk about the one without any leaves on it because that's cool.
Oh.
Are we talking Bihu?
We are. That's a cool plant. So, Josh is referring to the Japanese maple behind Tyler and David. You can only see sticks. It's yellow working up to orange and finishing off red. What a beautiful plant. It's beautiful when it has leaves, but it's almost more beautiful when it doesn't. So
Now,
over the wintertime.
Does it intensify in color over the winter as do the red twig
Yes.
maples? So it gets very nice and intense. And, it's another wonderful additive, really a curious plant to put in your garden. So.
Yeah, it's really, really pretty.
It could be a real feature.
And we have
I
no
mean, it
shortage of those kinds of things here. And by the way, those are all located in the part of the garden
safe
center
part
now
of the did you
that's
know
all
that?
undercover now. So you can actually shop from the front checkout area all the way back through the greenhouse and be in the dry. And if we're having rain at some point over the weekend, you'll be in the dry and covered. So you have plenty of places to shop and look around and just get out and walk around on a day that might kind of be a little gloomy.
And everywhere you look at this place, folks, listen, I'm a customer here, right?
Okay.
Yes, I am a customer. You got to come out and see. Kinpo Japanese white pine caught me. That is a cool looking tree.
It is.
And then
It
there,
is.
just caught my eye. And then the golden dwarf hinoki cypress, right up there by the front, by the checkout area. Oh my
Now, are
gosh!
these Rhinegolds in front of us, or are they another name cultivar? What are they
That's
called?
Fire Chief.
Fire Chief.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rhinegold was the original kind of dwarf arborvitae by that name. Now, those are an arborvitae, not a cryptomeria, right?
Yeah, that's arborvitae. and
Okay.
Good color through the winter, and especially in the spring, they really light back up. So for a dwarf little conifer for a lot of color, it's a good one to add in.
And the one thing that people need to be mindful of with quote dwarf conifers is that they kind of get big. So
Dwarf is relative.
yeah, it is
Semi-dwarf.
relative. Yeah, yeah. You don't want if you think you're going to put them under a low window and they will stay beneath it. They probably won't. So,
Even with the stern talking to.
even with the stern talking to.
Wow.
So let's go on with the questions then, Caroline. I know
All right.
you've got them lined up there.
I do.
What
I've got
do
them
you
lined
have?
up. Well, before we go to questions, I
Okay.
do want to say real quickly that my area that I spend most of my time in now has an amazing door with some perfectly stretched plastic, and I stare at it every day right now.
We no longer have a blue tarp.
We no longer
covering-
have that.
During our reconstruction process, there was a period of time that the weather cooled abruptly, and we moved the formerly permanent overhead door to the other wall, and we're rearranging some things, and we're actually adding a little bit of seasonal heated area during the upcoming poinsettia season here. So we kind of talked through that. We've got these double sets of doors that will give us a little bigger area, make a transition zone into the shade and covered area.
Cool.
Beautiful doors, so thank you to everyone who put those up. All right, first question. When can I prune Catoni aster that is growing over a wall?
Good question. We don't get Catoni aster questions ever. This is
No,
great.
this is the first one.
You know,
Always wanna
Catoni
call it
aster's
out.
underused.
Now, the first question I have is: when they wrote the question, did they actually in their mind think cotton Easter? Yeah,
Probably.
because it only has one T in it, by the way, so it's not cotton Easter. It is Catoni aster. But
It is.
I
And it's
digress.
an underused little plant. I think it's forgotten about. It's this pretty little, mostly evergreen, semi-evergreen plant that kind of hugs the ground for the most part. Has pretty little white flowers in the spring, and followed by red berries that persist typically through the winter. Like I said, it's great for a spot like they're talking about over a wall that hangs down. To answer your question, you can prune it pretty much any time, but over the winter time is a good time to do it. It's going to be dormant. You need to go ahead and clean it up. You're going to lose some of that flower power in the spring and the kind of late spring when they bloom if you prune it over the winter. But it's still better to just get it back in check. You'll kind of tighten it up, get more stems on it if you prune it, and then you'll get a good flower show and you'll get good berry set. So let's go ahead and do that whenever it's dormant over the wintertime.
Over the wintertime. All right, we've got a couple evergreen questions, so we'll do those back to back. How often should I water my evergreen trees and shrubs in the winter?
That kind of depends. It kind of depends on how new it is. If it's a new planting, then your watering is probably you're going to have to watch the weather first off. We can get fairly wet over the winter sometimes here, but not always. This year it's been a little bit different. We've been a little bit droughty, if you will. So if it is a new planting, you need to keep an eye on it. And if we have periods of, say, like a week or 2 weeks of no rain, then you need to go out and supplement with some water and make sure those evergreens are staying moist but not soaked, but also not bone dry at the same time. So older plantings, if they've been there a while, you typically don't have to water over the wintertime. Now, arborvitae may be the exception. If we do go periods, like I said, 2 to 3 or 4 weeks without rain, even an established tree might need some water. So based on weather typically, but new plantings need more than old ones.
Yeah, and this summer particularly was very stressful on arborvitae. The upright growing types such as emerald arborvitae and green giant, which are shallow rooted by nature, and consequently they're not real adept at dealing with extended dry conditions. So if you didn't learn your lesson this year, well, you better have, because it's an expensive lesson if you don't get out there and keep those things watered. So.
All right. Pretty evergreen, about 10 to 15 feet for corner of house. No holly, anything blue. I want to block my neighbors.
Wow.
Anything blue. Blue Point juniper comes to mind. It will get 15 feet tall. It might get a little bigger than that if you let it. It certainly takes a shear very well. And all juniper really can take a prune very well. I don't know, people are a little nervous to prune juniper. I don't really know why. It's a really easy one to cut. And it does have a bluish hue to it. Now, it does get a little bit chunky. We're talking probably 6 to 8 feet at the base, kind of working up to a point at about 15 feet tall. But it certainly can be used on the corner of your home, not like right on the corner, like close to your gutter or really close to your house, like maybe, bubble out a bed on the corner, get it kind of off the house a little bit, and then pop it on the corner, and it'll certainly work for that scenario. So Blue Point juniper, try it.
Watch watch where your downpipes come down.
And like you mentioned, people are a little reticent to trim on conifers, and they really need to get over that. You don't want to, and what it does, if you don't prune with some degree of regularity, unlike broadleaf evergreens, hollies, and that kind of thing, that if they ever get too large, you can cut them back as severely as you like, and they'll flush right back out. Even if you have no foliage on them at all, you can't do that with a conifer. You have to kind of keep it in check all along, and you really should never go more than 2 or 3 years between trimmings on those. And if you really want to keep it within bounds, you need to do that every year. Don't skip. And you can keep it really nice and tight and manage that growth as well as you can that way.
All right, Tyler, you have some questions. Do you want to get any in?
Yes.
Yes.
Caught me off guard because I was.
Well, I have
asking
one
a
from the
question,
Facebook page if we're ready for that.
We have one live one?
Yep.
Let's go to that.
Pam is wondering, she has a friend, of course,
right.
that they believe is either a hardy hibiscus / rose of Sharon removed from a pot and planted in a sunny location. It's about 5 feet tall, single trunk. Will it survive in the Nashville winter?
Yes, it will. It's probably rose of Sharon. Perennial hibiscus typically doesn't have one stem, and it typically doesn't get 5 feet tall. Some of them can if you let them get leggy, but like I said, they don't usually have one stem. So I bet it's a rose of Sharon, which is an excellent hardy plant around here. Very, very cold hardy, even for a hibiscus. Which
they're probably a zone 4,
probably 4 or 5, maybe. Yeah,
they had a great year this year too.
And generally,
gorgeous this year.
The rule of thumb, when you're wintering something over in a container, you effectively lose 2 hardiness zones. So if it's a zone 4, you're still at least a zone 6, and we're considered zone 7 here. So you should still be in good shape, providing that you keep it watered well during the coldest part of the winter. And that's always confusing to people because they think, well, won't that freeze? Well, yes, water does freeze at 32, but root temperature and the damage that can occur to plants happens at about 17 degrees.
Yeah, protect your roots. It's a good thing.
I've had a rose of Sharon in a nursery pot for about 4 years now, and it does just fine through the winter.
Awesome.
We do have a second Rose of Sharon question, so I do want to jump in here so we can stay on that topic. I'm new to Tennessee. What do I do with my Rose of Sharon for the winter? Leave it alone? Cut it back? Help me.
Leave it alone or cut it back. Up to you. Rosa
Depends
Sharon,
on where you're from, doesn't it?
I mean, it depends on how you like to look at it. So if you like to see, a really well-maintained, like kind of small tree, shrub, if you will, is pretty much what Rosa Sharon is here. If you want it really maintained and looking good and you want to shorten it a little bit and keep it tight, totally fine. If you want to let it go and just kind of be a tree, a little 10 to 12 foot tall blooming plant, then let it do that. But honestly, no extra care is needed for Rosa Sharon here in Middle Tennessee. Plenty hardy, very long-lived plant. It's an easy one, very easy.
And not overly showy in the wintertime.
No.
Not at all. Dormant sticks. But it's going to come back without a problem. And it's going to bloom, and it's going to bloom for a long time. Like Josh said, we had a good year for hibiscus this year. And
gorgeous.
Really, really showy. They produce new blooms every single day, and they drop the old ones at night. It's really crazy. They do actually have a little bit of cleanup involved with them. That's my biggest issue with Rosa Sharon is they drop all those flowers, or the flowers get like stuck in the tops of the trees, and you kind of have to rake them out. So whenever they're in bloom, they're a little bit messy, but you can deal with that because they are really, really showy. Just get a really nice sunny location for them, and they'll bloom their heads off.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Okay.
And let's go ahead and jump on those other questions. So David in his newsletter put out a form that we created to submit your at-home show questions there.
Cool.
So
And I'm going to try to find a spot to kind of incorporate that in so that people can go to the newsletter and always submit questions because people have questions. And sometimes they occur to you at 3 o'clock in the morning.
yes, and we actually
On the
have an
bathroom.
Why am I not sleeping?
Yes.
we actually have an email for the at-home show, which we can put out there, and you can formally email us your questions. We'll make sure to have that information posted within the next week.
Very good.
So Lee asks through Google, good time to plant gray owl juniper?
Yeah. Gray owl juniper is so hardy. I was just talking about hardy hibiscus, but man, gray owl juniper, you can't kill those. Do know with gray owl juniper, they get bigger than what you think they do. They really do. I don't care what tag you read out here or anywhere you go, it'll talk about gray owl staying a little bit smaller. No, they get big. I don't know if y'all know, what is it, Nashville West out in front of that Target?
Uh-huh.
There's a
Yep.
massive
Yeah.
stand of gray owl juniper,
They're
and they are huge.
beautiful.
Oh,
They're beautiful.
that's
And when
that
those
is.
forsythia are interplanted with them, it's a gorgeous display.
It's great. They use gray owl juniper as the way they should. The large area, space-filling plants that just, you let them get big. If you want them in a tight spot because you like that color that they've got, but they're going to get too big for you, you're going to have to prune. You're really going to have to prune to keep them small, and it's even hard at that point. They outgrow that. They're a fast-growing juniper.
And what really looks great to me, particularly, and it's a great use of that particular planting you're talking about, is that when you prune those correctly, you wouldn't want to prune them. At least I wouldn't want to right now, because you've got these arms that have grown out of them that are really just spectacular. And then when the forsythia, which you have also allowed to grow on out, after they flower in the spring, then you can go through and prune both of them, and then they'll flush back out again and put on the show again the next year. So gray owls are a spectacular juniper, and they're really particularly well used in that application where you have a great contrasting plant and a kind of a mounding area to plant them on.
So that's 2 words: gray owl.
Gray-
Gray owl.
Gray
owl.
Gray owl.
I don't know why owl would be in that name, but I mean, they're gray. They do have that color, but why owl?
Can't tell you that.
I don't-
Sounds
Can't tell you
cute.
that.
Swoopy
Hey, why don't we
looking.
take just a moment
maybe.
here and talk about if you want to have success in whatever you're planting, there's really one thing you can do that's going to stack the deck in your favor, and that's Earth Mix Garden products. And it doesn't matter which of the products you're choosing to use, you're going to have success. Now, Caroline, being interior scape kind of an individual, she's going to recommend Proganics Eye. It is a peat-free indoor growing mix. That means you get no fungus gnats. You don't get all the issues that come with peat moss. And it is a very productive product because it also has earthworm castings in the mix. It is, as are all Earth Mix products, they're very highly fertile without using chemical fertilizer.
That's a good
Josh.
thing.
Yeah.
Very good thing.
And that kind of all comes from Supernatural, which is, I would say, the secret sauce of Earth Mix Garden products, where once all the wonderful blend of organic products are put together, mycorrhiza fungi, and it's both endo and ecto, by the way, Josh.
Oh, the endo.
Along
Endo,
with humic
man.
acid, give your plants all the things that they really want and need without having to put chemical fertilizers on there. So to get the very best success out of your gardening efforts, insist on Earth Mix garden products. Then you
Demand
can
it.
find a complete list. Go to earthmix.net, click on the Find Earth Mix tab, and if you scroll down there, you'll see a map will pop up, and all of the locations around Middle
Dun,
Tennessee,
dun, dun.
Kentucky, Southern Indiana, Illinois, and actually we don't have one in Illinois yet. Ohio is what I
Gonna
meant to
have
say.
Yeah.
So check all those out. You can zoom in for a turn-by-turn location, and also if you go to the bottom of this page, it'll also tell you, click on whatever location, and it'll tell you exactly who has what products in inventory. So check that out over at earthmix.net. And remember this, success in gardening begins at the ground level
It certainly does.
when you use EarthMix garden products. So we appreciate you giving us a moment to talk about that and help you have success in your gardening, because I guarantee you the people who used it this year and had emerald arborvitae and maybe forgot to water a day or two are really grateful that they did have that in there, because it
Yes.
goes a long way towards helping to hold moisture and give you a little bit more buffer so that you can get those plants rooted in more quickly and have them growing their very best.
Yes.
And Earth Mix would just like to welcome Alvaton Nursery, just south of Bowling Green, Kentucky, to the Earth Mix product family.
Yeah,
Cool.
Absolutely. Great.
You can get
folks.
your garden, landscape, organics, O&I there, as well as the Farmer's Basket. If you live a little bit further west in Kentucky, they're another recent partner with us. Check them out.
All right, thanks, Tyler, for that information. And let's go back to the questions. I know we got plenty.
I've
We
got
have
one
so
real
many.
quick.
All right.
Oh, okay.
And this is on the Facebook page from Kimberly. And Kimberly wants to know, is now a good time to feed your trees? And if so, with what?
Right now?
No, not during the show, of course. I mean, yeah, you have to wait until at least 9 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so if we're talking new trees, really anything, it's not a bad time to use organics right now. And anytime you use organic products, especially fertilizer, you can almost do that any time of the year. That you can do it right now and let that just kind of sit and just kind of work its way in the dirt a little bit and kind of leach in, and it'll be a slow, process. We don't necessarily recommend fertilizing this time of year. It's more of a spring thing. Whenever the plant's actively growing, that's whenever you kind of want to get that fertilizer to the roots and let it be used by the plant. That's when they're actively using it more. So, either way is probably fine. But typically, whenever they're actively growing in the spring, we want to give them some fertilizer.
A top dressing with Supernatural wouldn't hurt them at all.
Never hurts to add organic material. Never hurts. At any time of the year, you can add organics. So, do it. Or don't. Wait till spring.
Do it or don't. All right, we've got a staghorn fern question, if I
Easy
could
for
say
you to
that
say.
right. Just wanted to sound kind of spooky. Any staghorn fern care tips? Mine is getting spotty. If it's getting spotty, I feel like, or I think that it's probably still in a pot. Naturally, staghorns don't grow in soil. They're epiphytes, so they kind of attach themselves
They're
to
what?
trees. Epiphytes.
Appa.
They have a good
Fine.
appetite.
They have a good
Fine.
appetite. There it
Okay.
is, Josh. Now you hush so I can keep talking. So if you still have it in soil, I would recommend taking it out. You can mount it on something, or you can put it in I've seen them in wooden baskets before, and you can use sphagnum moss, something to replicate what it naturally grows in its natural habitat. And then they like to dry out almost completely in between waterings, and then just give it a good soak and let it dry. So those spots, like I said, are probably being caused from it sitting in soil and holding too much moisture, and it's not able to dry out and get that airflow to its root system. So yeah, that's a fun fact about
Let's
them.
talk about epiphytic plants. You
Let's
said
do
epiphyte.
it.
So epiphytic plants, what do? They get their moisture from the air typically. They're they cling on to trees. What is it?
Not Romulans, they cling
hotel.
on.
Gaylord.
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 Yeah,
Go to Gaylord
Opryland.
and look around. You'll see.
Oh yeah.
You'll see a lot of that. You'll see orchids that are clinging to trees, and you'll
Yes.
see other ferns that are clinging to trees. So yeah, they get their moisture from the air mainly. So when Caroline said soak it, she means like literally the leaves. Like you can water the roots certainly, but I see Caroline all the time when she does water them. She just lays them down on the ground and just soaks them, just waterboards them pretty much. And that's, I mean, that's what they want.
They'll grow.
Yeah. So that's where they get their water, and that's how you do it.
Where are you getting your water?
Exactly what I do to the staghorns.
It
once
is.
a
I see
week.
it all
Yep.
the time. a lot of times they come in mounted on like a piece of wood.
Yeah.
How
so
do they attach those though?
They usually use nails or screws with fishing line. So the fishing line goes
Okay.
around the screws and then it holds it up. And like I said, they grow so much better like that. When we get them in nursery pots, a lot of them come in that way. But if they sit at the nursery for a while, I usually have to start changing stuff out. Or I'll just bring them out of the pot and let them sit for a little while and then put them back in. Because like Austin was saying, they naturally get their water from the air. They just absorb that moisture in instead of getting it from the soil.
Yeah, they don't
and
like
bringing it
wet.
up.
They don't like wet soil.
Epiphytes are cool.
But they
They're
also
different.
don't like dry air.
Exactly. So in our homes over the wintertime, we have pretty dry air around here. That's kind of how it is. So the watering would probably maybe be more in the winter.
It would probably be more, and a humidifier would definitely help it out if you have one. I would put it in the room that you have that humidifier in. So, yeah, a lot of
That
my
room.
houseplants dry out in the winter. It's kind
That
of a
room.
problem.
That room?
That room.
That
the one,
room.
The
That
one you
room.
have the humidifier in.
Put it there.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Tyler, do you want to slip in another Google question?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm gonna switch back to us. Okay.
Ding, ding,
Jane Ann Gibbs asks, this is a longer one. Why do fall-bearing raspberries bloom but fail to set fruit? She parenthesized a lot of information here. Growing in Nashville, brackets, with bushes purchased at Bates, but you don't have to say where I bought the bushes, as I don't want folks to think that was the problem. Even the local Davidson County Extension agent couldn't offer any reasons for lack of fruit set. My blueberry bushes purchased at Bates have been a great success.
Can I take a shot at this?
Go ahead.
No bees?
Maybe. You know,
Wait, just a minute. Can I just say Austin's face lit up when this question came in, so I'm excited to hear what he's going to
Okay.
say. He's ready.
well, I'm interested to know when they didn't set fruit because this year was a little bit different with
Right.
raspberries. We got really, really hot quickly, and I've read reports, and this came from a university thing I read at one point that said bloom set and fruit set specifically is greatly, I guess, what's the word?
Diminished?
Attenuated?
It is diminished by higher temperatures. So anything like I think I read above like 88, whenever they're in bloom, a lot of times they will not set fruit at that high temperatures. You know, tomatoes can be it has a
That
similar
happened,
thing.
yes.
It happens
Absolutely.
whenever temperatures get too high. And this year, that kind of happened. Raspberries can take it pretty dang cold. You know, they don't necessarily need it as hot as what we have here. And it got hot and it got dry. And also, you mentioned bees, and certainly bees are on raspberries, but there's a lot of other, like
Right.
just what we call plant
Pollinators,
bugs.
yeah.
that are just kind of on them and really produce pollen transfer very well. So I'm not thinking that is going to be the case. I really just think it was a product of temperature this year, and you just didn't get the fruit that you really typically would get. Now, raspberries still set fruit pretty well this year. I know I've got a buddy that planted a good amount of fruit this spring, and he gave me a fall gold raspberry, which if y'all have not grown fall gold raspberry, it is the best tasting raspberry I've ever had in my life.
Absolutely.
It is
I
fantastic.
advocate fall gold.
Oh my God.
Bar none.
Now, did
Yeah.
he give you a single berry?
Berry?
He gave me about 3 or 4. He had a little Tupperware full. He had just kind of picked them. I was over there kind of looking at his plants. He's a new guy to plants. He's never really grown them before, so he's a good buddy of mine,
He
and
was
I go to his
stingy,
house.
is what
Yeah.
you're saying. Okay. yeah.
But he's trying this year to grow some new stuff, and he's had issues here, there, whatever. So I come over to help him, and he gave me a little tasting of fall gold raspberry. My God, it still had the kind of what raspberries do, a little bit of that astringency, but not
They
near as
do
much.
what they do, right?
They do what they do, but the sweetness of the fall gold was way better than the red ones.
Here's my reenactment. Anytime anyone comes over to my house, try this.
Seriously,
It's that amazing.
and a heavy producer.
Are they thorny?
Yes.
Are they really thorny?
A little bit. They're a little prickly.
Not as bad as blackberries.
Okay.
No.
But
Or what's the word? They're not thorny, but like spiky,
Prickly.
pricky up the
Spiny.
stems. Yeah, you don't want to get them on.
Spiny.
They'll grab you. But yeah.
Reach out and snag you.
So with the raspberries, I'm sorry you didn't get a great fruit quality this year, but next year's another year and it'll be better. Raspberries get bigger and better every year.
And that's part of the dilemma with fruiting plants, period, is that you would love for them to be bountiful year after year.
Like honeyberries?
Yes, but there are many that are like honeyberries, and
Yes.
that they almost never produce some things. But the raspberries should be better in the years to come. For whatever reason, I've got a fig in my yard that generally I get 2 settings of fruit on it. And I did get a second setting of fruit, but the second one was delayed, and consequently, very little of that fruit ripened. So I had a lot of fruit on the early ripening, and then almost nothing on the later part.
It's part of it. It's part of gardening.
I was looking for a bounty this year on the honeyberries, David. I mean, I had
Like up to 3.
Yeah, I was really thinking maybe even 7.
Ooh, wow!
But,
Wow.
Yeah,
And you know, that's one of those plants that's false advertising because they're really not all that sweet, are they?
no,
They're
no,
very
no.
Tangy.
I may let Mrs. Cary commit landscape aside on those this year.
I think that's one of those things where somebody decided, well, if we're going to market this plant where we can sell it, we need to lie.
You were the one selling them to me.
We need to lie. You know what my thought is on fruit? On most fruit that if you don't see it sold in the grocery store, it's probably not all that great.
Oh.
I mean, that's the way I feel. What do y'all think?
Except for the fall gold raspberry.
Yeah, I
Well,
don't
yeah.
know. There are some good fruits that aren't in grocery stores.
Like what? Name one.
I can't.
Michael Stevenson.
It's early.
It's kind of like pawpaw trees.
Well, you know,
Pawpaws. Do you see pawpaws in the grocery store?
Oh, you don't.
you know, nobody grows pineapple much around here, but yet what you find in the stores are generally good. Now, it takes
Yes.
a year and a half to grow one in a tropical environment, so that's why you won't find one.
We have them
generally.
in the house plant sometimes.
Well, you know, I grew one. The last time I grew one was probably 35, 40 years ago, and I got it to within 2 weeks of harvest.
He's not
somebody
bitter.
stole it. They didn't steal the whole plant. They just cut the pineapple off. And the thing of it is, it was still green, so even they didn't get anything out of it.
That's so sad.
It was.
He's quite bitter.
I have not.
Oh,
you
that
can
was
tell
good.
I haven't forgot about
I'm
it. Yeah.
still living with that resentment.
Hey, you know what's a fun little thing to do though with pineapples? If you get them from the store, you can cut the top right
Yep.
off.
Yep.
And root them. I mean,
Well,
it's kind of a fun little
My
thing to
mom
do with the
sticks
kids.
them all in her plants, and she has so
And-
many pineapple plants.
And this one came from, you know, back in the day in 1980, I lived in Hawaii for about a year, and I had a lot of friends there, and one couple in particular were wonderful, and they sent a case of pineapple over to us. So I grew several pineapples off of the tops of those, but I didn't do any more after that.
It's a
That
cool
was
looking
it.
plant.
I am
It's a
over
very
this.
cool looking plant.
Oh, yeah.
It is. It gets big though, and
Yes.
then falls over, and yeah.
Austin said the
Get
secret
sassy.
word, bromeliad. We have a bromeliad related question,
I had
Caroline.
it queued up. I know. I got the questions over here, Tyler.
Okay, I'm going to go back to my Google form.
Well, I guess
It's
we're ready
safe
for
here.
the bromeliad question, which was just asking how to get it to rebloom. So generally with bromeliads, they will just, that mother plant, Austin and I actually had this conversation yesterday.
We did.
That mother plant will usually just bloom one time. It's pretty rare that you're going to get another bloom out of that. It doesn't necessarily mean that plant is dead, but its pups will start producing flowers and they will bloom. Bromeliads genuinely only bloom every 1 to 3 years. And they have to have pretty much the right growing conditions. So you'll want to stick them outside. They do best outside when it's warm, so April to October. They don't need to get direct sunlight, but they want bright and direct light. So basically diffuse lighting. So they're not getting hit with direct sun, but it is staying brightly lit. I found that we had some bromeliads here in the greenhouse for a long time that didn't bloom. They were sitting out. I mean, they looked great. The leaf interest on them are gorgeous. They have so many different colors and different kinds. We kind of ran out of space. They were looking bad. I was cleaning them up, so I just stuck them under a table, and in a couple weeks, they started blooming.
Wow.
So they had all that sun. The leaves were doing great. They were pretty healthy, and then they started to look stressed. When I put them in that darkness, they started to push those bloom spikes coming out. Now, I don't know if that's because they were stressed. They were like, oh, God, she's going to kill me. Now I have to look pretty, and I have to push that bloom out. So you'll probably need to try a couple things to get them to bloom, kind of change their environment, but know that it might be a couple of years before it does bloom again. But yeah, that's a great question. Okay, let's get on to another one. We got a rosemary question. I have some mixed feelings about this one. Large potted rosemary kept outside all summer. Bring it inside. When do I need to cut it back? And then they said, thank you. I hate trying to grow rosemary inside.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's dry. Like the air's dry And it's funny because rosemary kind of likes it dry.
Yes.
Like down below, it wants its roots to be, very well drained, not wet at all, dry in between, and then a nice soaking whenever it's time, but the water needs to drain away. But something about the dry air.
I think it's the air.
I think it's a lack of light. They are real
sun lovers for sure.
But even here in the greenhouse, when we get them in little topiaries for Christmas, they still do the same thing.
They really do.
I mean, the upkeep for those when you bring them inside is not that I'm saying it's not worth it, but it is a lot of work to try to keep them going and keep them alive. I just replace my rosemary every spring.
So the best thing to
So do
do,
I.
the best thing to do is probably keep it outside and only move it in when we're having severely cold weather. When it's going down, say you down to 20 or less, move it inside for a night or two, whatever you need to get through that. Then go back outside with it. Allow it to be an outdoors plant that just gets a little protection from time to time.
Because it gets skanky looking and everything all through the winter anyway.
Skanky is a technical term.
It is,
by the way, right? Hey,
I'll just say from growing a big old juniper for about 5 or 6 years, this was in the ground. Watch your pruning and cutting, because if you prune it in the kind of late spring, but where we're still susceptible to crazy cold snaps, it might actually harm the plant and do more harm than good. So
You say juniper. Did you mean rosemary?
I meant rosemary.
like,
It looked like a juniper, though. How
Good
big it got.
information, though.
They're similar in what they want.
they get huge, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, let's change gears here for just a moment. Talk about where we are today. And every Saturday, the Bates Nursery and Garden Center, and we invite you to come out and see us. We've done a whole lot of things, as you can see on this picture on our website. That's the perennial area, and that's just a part of the connected area that goes from the checkout area all the way down through the greenhouse through this. So we have an all in the dry over about half of our lot here. So you can come out even when the weather is less than wonderful and still have a pleasant shopping experience.
Yes.
And we want to give you that. We also want to give you an experience that is very information laden as you need for it to be. I'll put it that way. We're here to help you figure out what's going on in your landscape. If you've got a disease problem or a pest problem, if you don't know what to put where, maybe you say, I like this, or here's what I already have. Take pictures of your landscape, bring those in with you, and we'll look at your unique landscape situation, help you get the right plants in the right place the first time. That's the way we do it here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center, where we have been beautifying Nashville since 1932. And quick math says that's 90 years, Josh.
That's good math.
Our emerald anniversary, as I'm calling it anyway. And we invite you to come out and see us. Also, I do a newsletter, and we're gratefully we've got a second place. We've got a stranglehold on
Silver medalist.
We're perennial silver medalist in Best of Nashville, and our new blog post falls
We're
right
gonna fix
there.
that next year, though.
Well, I don't know. Living with Landon's a formidable. She's got it going on over there. So anyway, this is this week's Hope Falls Eternal, and you also have your little link up top. If you saw the video at the beginning. There's a link to that, and also the link near the bottom that where I put the questions in. So if you had a question, that's where you would go to get that. So you can get that for as long as you want it, and you can unsubscribe at any time. So
it only comes once a week, folks. Once a week.
That's it.
Yep.
So check it out.
It's not spam.
Check it out, and we try to give you good information there, and we just try to help you in your gardening efforts and help you to be successful. Because if you're not successful at it, you're probably going to quit doing it, and we don't want you to quit doing it.
No,
we kind of think it's a good thing to do. So come out and see us. We're conveniently located 1 mile north of Briley Parkway at exit 19 on Whites Creek Pike, which is just minutes from Rivergate Opry Mills, Nashville West, downtown Nashville. And this, I will tell you, it is worth the drive no matter where you're coming from. Oh, Josh drove in from Smyrna this morning.
The 37167.
So check us out online, batesnursery.com, where, by the way, our entire inventory is searchable, and you can also order online, schedule delivery. So if for some reason you can't come out, maybe you've been under the weather or whatever, you can do it all right there, and it will just show up at your door just like that. So come see us, Bates Nursery and Garden Center, beautifying Nashville since 1932.
You got to come out here though and see the coolness. I mean, it's more coolness than you can imagine.
There's quite a bit of coolness going on.
So much.
We're kind of spoiled working here because we get to see it every day, and we don't really. When you're here every day, you just don't see how massive it is. And I had a couple of guests yesterday from Illinois, brand new to Nashville. They just moved here, and they were told by New Systems of Nashville, which is a landscaping company that shops with us. Thank you
Great
for that.
folks, by
They're
the
really
way.
nice people. They said, you know what, you need to go to Bates. If you're looking for some plants, you go to Bates. And they shouted us out, and they ended up here. They ended up talking to me, and we walked around this whole nursery for probably 30 minutes. Me just talking plants, dropping plant
F-bombs.
knowledge on it. That's what I do. That's what
Big
I love.
words,
Big words.
Our rule around here, by the way, is you never use a big word when a diminutive one will do.
That's a good point. And I was just having fun with them, walking around, and they were in awe of this place. They couldn't believe the amount of variety we have here, from the tallest tree to the smallest seed. And everything in between. We love to help you out with that, and it was really nice to see them. And then on the flip side of that, I had a couple regulars of mine that come out and talk to me. They've been shopping with us for at least the past 5 years and talking to me for at least that long, and we just hit it off, and they've become kind of some of my regulars. And they were looking at our new structure yesterday, and they were in awe. They were just like, this is fantastic. They couldn't believe it.
They remember what it used to look like.
What it used to look like, and then just the construction that's on. I mean, what is it, David? 110 8x8 posts we set.
Yes.
In the earth. I don't think you want to think about that. But anyway, a huge,
it was a nice order. Yes.
Yeah, I bet it was a huge construction project. So it is almost complete. We're still working on it every day, and we will for a little while longer. But it's just a sight to see, and it's a really great shopping experience whenever you can be undercover and not have to worry about the weather so much. So.
Yep.
And sneaking through
cool
the
place.
tree lot. I mean, that's it. It's stuck.
It's its own
back.
place.
I mean, it's its own world.
It's a world.
I mean,
back there.
it really is.
I mean,
cool.
we have 2 tree lots now. When I started here, we just had 1. Now we've got 2, almost 3. We call it the auxiliary tree lot because we can't even keep the amount of trees. I mean, we just have so many. So we got another shipment coming this week, I think, too, of some last of the end of the season trees. So, hey, y'all, great tree planting season, by the way. It's time. If you want to plant trees, do it. We've got a lot, and it's time to do it.
Yes, it is.
I'm about to plant some. Hey, for a second, can we just look at this spooky plant in front of us
Spooky plant,
here?
yes.
It looks just like a brain. Tyler, can you zoom in on this at all?
Hold it up.
He can.
There he goes. Whoa. So happy Halloween. Come buy one of these Cleosa that we still have back in our annual greenhouse.
Celosia.
Silosa,
You
thank you. I did. I was thinking of Miss Cleo, the psychic, and combining it with the plant. All right, so we've got a couple
Plant
more
me now.
questions over here.
The purple ones are great.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
And
they
the
look
orange
gorgeous
ones
in
for
front of me.
today as well.
There you go, Josh.
Orange and purple, and then we got some hot pink. The true brains in the middle.
Look how funky that one is.
I know, they're so cool,
little-
and they make great dried flowers. So
Cool.
if you're thinking annuals, are about to be out, they kind of already are a little bit, but you can just cut these flowers, keep them inside for a while. They're going to dry, and they hold their color almost forever. So
And one final note on the color is if you're thinking about planting cool season color, violas, pansies, those kind of, you need to be making
Doing
a
it.
move because the
do it.
selection is really going to start waning tremendously. So if you're thinking about that, stop thinking and start doing, because you're not going to have as many choices to choose from, and there'll be far fewer available.
Well, those purple pansies are huge as well.
Oh, yeah.
my God.
Austin was
beautiful.
giddy
I was
about
in
these
awe.
pansies. Hold that up, Austin.
Okay.
Display that.
Take that
Yeah,
yellow
get
leaf off.
that. There you go.
Tyler.
Tyler, sing it up. Look at that. Soft blue, purple face.
Giant.
Wow.
What about 2.5 inches across?
That's.
It's big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, is that still a majestic giant, or is that another?
Let's see here. It's called Ocean. It's just waving
Gorgeous.
at us.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
We got more questions.
Let's do it.
Get them.
Let's get to it.
I need to get rid of this last Google question.
Oh,
I got cut
Well,
off
just
by
delete
Tyler.
it.
Well, you'll take it away, Caroline. I know you always do. Okay, so Maria asks, my brown turkey fig tree went in the ground spring of 2021 and has produced increasing amounts of fruit that never ripened. Should I prune it this fall or just be patient and hope for fruit next year?
Did it die back at all? We would need to know.
That's probably what happened. I'm assuming is, well, I don't know. She asked if she should prune it, so maybe the sticks are staying up. You know, a lot of times, and David, you know this because you grow it, but if they come back from the roots and not the stems, a lot of times that fruit does not have time to finish up at the end of the season. It kind of depends on our weather.
It was also
Mine
a
comes
weird
back
year.
from the roots, and I
Mine-
always get them.
I got an early flush, and you could see the development, and it was producing fruit the entire season. But I lost a good 30 or 40 figs this last week because they just didn't. I don't think they had enough time, and the heat and the norm. It just was crazy year.
Your real productive opportunity on figs is if you have a milder winter, or you have it protected it in such a way that it doesn't get severe dieback. That way, it's able to produce bloom. Actually, it doesn't bloom; it produces fruit right on the stem.
And then a hornet does things to it. So it's really cool. Look it up.
So that early fruiting crop is where the real opportunity is. I got a couple of hundred at least off of mine on the early crop.
Yeah.
I still had a couple of hundred on there when the later crop came on. But again, as with yours, they did not mature soon enough. So consequently, I got very little off of that. If I had been willing to build a greenhouse around it, which I'm not.
No.
I could have gotten all those. It's just not worth it.
Mine's going to have a haircut because it's outgrowing its space.
I got to transplant mine. It's too big.
You're going to transplant your fig tree?
Yes.
He has the means.
It's a monster.
I'm about to say, that's going to be some hard digging too, because figs have chunky roots.
Yes.
Yeah, they wild. Okay, here we go. We got 3 questions over on this end, so let's do some rapid fire real quick. What plants would rather be planted in the spring versus now?
Yeah, you know, that's a good question.
It's a great question.
It is a great question. Figs, for one. I think figs should be planted in the spring. Give them a full season to establish a root system. I'm big when it comes to crepe myrtle on that. I think that a spring planting on crepe myrtle is a lot better than the fall. You never know how cold we can get, and they can be a little bit testy. Other than that,
there's all kinds of bulbs, gladiolas and those kind of things that are summer flowering bulbs that you can only plant in the spring.
Great point, dahlias for sure. Yeah, we featured some dahlias last week.
Mrs. Cary wants those next year.
Those are spring. Elephant ear comes to mind. That's another good one for the spring rather than the fall because you may not get it returned if you do it in the fall.
No.
So. What else, I guess? Is there any shrubby things?
We're all
Butterfly bush?
Butterfly bush, yeah, that's a good point. Butterfly bush has a weird way of dying sometimes over the wintertime. I don't know why. I can't really explain it. Sometimes they'll live for like 8 years and then just croak. Yeah. I hear it a lot actually with customers. So yeah, plant butterfly bush in the spring and enjoy it through the summertime. And like I said, a full season of root establishment.
I planted a bunch this spring, and I'm excited about next year if they do in fact come back. All right, I live in Nashville. When do I cut back my knockout roses?
Anytime, but mainly over the winter. So they're going to go dormant, do it over the winter, clean them up. It goes with tons of deciduous plants. Knockout roses do not care when you cut them. They bloom on new wood, old wood, any kind of wood they got. It doesn't matter.
I got a flush last week.
I know.
My white one's just beautiful.
Yeah,
Lord,
it's insane.
Pretty as they've been all year.
It can be super cold, and knockouts can still. And a lot of times, like David's mentioned before, sometimes if they're in protected spots, they'll keep their leaves through the whole winter time.
Yep.
Which is
mine
weird.
Does.
So do that. Get rid of any unproductive canes. That's kind of the biggest thing. So big, chunky, like old, kind of brown-looking canes. Get rid of those. Keep the fresh green ones. Other than that, it doesn't matter.
Is it unproductive or non-productive?
I don't know.
I'm just curious.
Unproductive. I think did they both work?
Yes.
They do both work, yeah.
But if they work, they would be productive.
Someone might be described as being unproductive, but a specific
only behind
thing
their
is
back.
a non-productive would be. I think that's the more exacting way. But, someone will let us know.
Yes.
They will. All right, our final question from Instagram this morning. Doing fall planting like crazy, when should I wrap it up?
Never.
The like crazy part.
Never wrap it up.
Never wrap up.
If people ask me this all the time, when do I have to stop planting stuff? And that's honestly not even really a thing. As long as the ground's not frozen and you can dig in it, you can plant. Like I said, avoid some of those like touchy plants that may not make it through the winter in the fall. But if it's, say fall bulbs like tulips or any type of those type of things, or even just like hardy shrubs or deciduous trees, conifers for that matter. Most conifers, can take it way colder than what we actually do here. So don't worry about that so much. So hey, you want to keep planting, you keep planting. You just
do
plant
it.
your heart
You
away.
just go
all
on.
year round.
Well, we're in the area that 12 months out of the year you can have very successful planting, very successful, and those things like you just mentioned, conifers, deciduous, they absolutely. There is no reason why you would not do it in the wintertime. I mean, actually, it can be very advantageous to get it done while they are dormant and while your maintenance is minimal. And because they are dormant, it doesn't mean that there's no activity going.
yeah.
The root system is going to continue to grow and they'll become better established so that you're almost a full season ahead of things that would be planted in the spring. So there's a lot of things that are a really good idea to get done while the fall winter season is going on.
It's a lot easier to dig a hole too whenever it's like 40 degrees rather than
And there's
90.
better moisture in the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. I
You're
mean, I
not gonna
do
have a heat
almost
stroke.
all my planting over the winter. I mean, it's just easy on me, easy on the plants. They're just dormant and just kind of put them in, soak them in real deep, and then kind of let them be.
I'm going to plant a bunch of trees that I've had sitting on my driveway for years this winter. Fingers crossed I do and not wait until next year. All right, so that wraps it up for questions on my end. Do you guys have any more on Facebook?
Not there. Kimberly wanted to know the flowers that were in front of you guys, but I think we covered it. Celosia? Is it?
Celosia.
Cleosa.
Cleosa?
No. Celosia.
Celosia?
What's a common name?
Brain plant.
Coxcomb?
Yeah.
Coxcomb.
That's
Yeah.
And they
But they
grow in
have-
a couple different styles. Some are more upright,
That's
which
what I
we
was saying.
almost brought in, but they were almost a little too tall.
We brought these in because of the
because of
brain.
Halloween.
It's very, yes.
I didn't decorate for Halloween this year. We also didn't have a pumpkin carving contest, so we had to get some spooky plants in. And
we
did
made a
it.
spooky
And then we got the weepy thing in the back behind Tyler there and David.
Those
Oh,
are cool.
we got no shortage of spooky stuff here to
Spooky
work
stuff.
with,
yeah.
so we invite you to come
It's
out and
kinda
see
army
us
type
and
of thing.
Yeah.
get that
We have-
landscape underway for.
Hey, we did have a good idea behind y'all, or Caroline had a good idea, excuse me. She brought in some green Father Gila that hasn't started changing color yet, and then the two on the sides is still another Father Gila, but that's their fall color. So
Right.
you go from that kind of bluish green hue to the orangey yellow. Tyler, get out of the way.
These have just
Down
come
lower,
in.
Tyler.
These are the ones in the middle. They haven't had any cold weather like these over here.
Exactly, yeah,
So
right.
that's the
So-
difference. Biggest difference, anyway.
But if y'all haven't heard of Father Gila and you like fall color, you need some. I mean, like really, you need some. They're beautiful.
That is
Beautiful.
FOTHER, not
Yes.
FATH.
Watch your head.
in the words of Ben Trest, absolutely.
Ben loves Father
and-
Gila.
and
though.
By
know,
the way, we want Ben's hair in studio next
Ben
Saturday.
wants Ben's hair.
The hair from the movie. We need that hair.
I bet that he keeps that with him in his vehicle.
It's in his car. Yeah, he
Yeah.
did say, I've still
Well-
got it just in case we need it.
Well, his head gets cold every now and then. Maybe his Bates beanie is not available. He can just slap that wig on. And,
We'll be able to find him, that's for sure.
Yep.
That crazy hair sticking up over all those shrubs.
Well, and we, of course, want to remind folks that has our new handle on YouTube gone live yet, Tyler? Do we know?
I don't know yet,
Okay.
but it's switched over, so it's at the At Home Show on YouTube.
On David's blog, you can now email us directly, so we can get the questions there. You can do that at your convenience as well.
Yep.
On any of the social media platforms, I actually just invited Elon Musk to join us on
Wow.
Twitter.
He probably was just tied up a little.
So he's
this
got a
morning.
little thing going on.
Hey guys,
He's
guess
a little
what?
Busy. What?
We just got a question in.
Quickly.
Oh, good morning. Are we safe to do fall pruning now?
Well,
How
it is
about flowering
fall.
perennials? Anything that shouldn't be pruned now? Ooh.
She said
You got
laurels
30
and holly.
seconds.
Laurels and hollies.
Laurels and holly.
And Risha says we're non-productive.
Yeah, we're about time to where it's okay to do that. I know David talks about this a lot with us out here specifically. Is we got to get our pruning done at a certain point, because if we cut and then we have warm weather and the holly decides to juice up and produce new leaves, those new leaves will certainly get hurt by the cold and they'll be injured. It won't necessarily kill the plant, but we don't want it to look ugly. So if you could wait a little bit while longer till this kind of warmer weather passes, and then certainly it's okay to start pruning on those. And when it comes to flowering perennials, if they're looking tired, y'all, and just ugly, and you need to deadhead them and clean them up, do that. Go
You
ahead.
can. But know that some of those seeds provide food for our bird friends. So
That is a
I
good
usually
point.
leave mine up for a while because they will flock to them in the winter. There's a little birdie in the studio right now. A real loud one and kind of annoying one. Just kidding.
I don't know which host was more annoying, Josh or David, but
Hey, we
Was that
tried.
both of you? I thought
Yes,
it was.
it was.
Wow, that was impressive.
I was kind of impressed. Yeah.
Yeah, it really did sound like a bird.
All right, folks, as we were saying, like us on all the social media platforms, engage with us on all the social media platforms. Sometimes it takes a minute for us to find them because there are several places that you can see the at-home show. But we're going to get back to you with your questions. And, by the way, we're going to do this next Saturday morning.
we'll be right here.
Okay. So everybody join us. For everybody here at the at-home studios, at the Green Room Studios, we appreciate you joining us this Saturday morning. Invite you back next Saturday and want to wish everyone go Big Orange.
Mm-hmm.